and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I should have turned my phone off, let me try that again. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking to you about how I became a freelance illustrator slash graphic designer slash creative business lady, entrepreneur, woman thing. So for those of you that don't know me, hello, I'm Catherine K, the human marshmallow behind Katnipp.com and BABYBLUU.co.uk, and I'm also a freelance graphic designer and social media marketer for 2 other firms as well. So I've got a lot of stuff going on in my life. In today's video I'm just going to be basically talking about how I started and how I went from being full-time employment, how I went from full-time employment to self-employed, which is what I am now, in my own office. I'm not in an office space at home. I moved into this new office about 2 months ago now. Moved in here about 3 weeks ago actually. So yeah, I've only been in this office 3 weeks. I did used to work from home before then in my little house. You can actually see my moving in vlog of the office in my YouTube channel. I'll leave it in the description below. I don't know how to do those pop-up things. So if you're interested in my journey of moving into the office, you can actually go and see that. So yeah, let's start with a storytelling time. So I've always had a huge passion for drawing and illustrating and creating things in general. For Christmas I always used to get those little art set things. I don't know if anyone else used to get them, these felt tip pens and stuff in, and I've always been a creative type. I loved colouring books, drawing, everything, you name it. And when I was about 10 and beyond, I got a computer. I also love gaming. I'm a huge gamer and a huge geek, and I also discovered anime. Now the internet was really slow back in the day, but I used to go on kissanime.com and stuff like that and stream anime series when I was 11 or 12. I also used to play things like Hello Hotel and Neopets, and I used to love these pixel doll sites. Now pixel dolls were basically just these dolls where you used to drag and drop clothes onto the dolls, and I loved them so much. And this is how I got introduced to digital art, and back then it was called pixel art, and this was my introduction into the digital world and connecting with people online about things that we were interested in. What I found in the pixel doll community was that there was no clothes that I found super cute, and I wanted to design my own. So back when paint was around, I used to draw my own clothes and stuff, and I enjoyed it that much that I opened my own website called Dolls Garden. Now it is lost in the abyss of old internet, so I can't find it. I'm so gutted because some of them were really good, and I wish I could look back on them now and see what they look like. And yeah, I opened Dolls Garden and I was featured on a site called Dolls Palace, and I ended up being in the top 20 sites on Dolls Palace, which was amazing. And at this point I was about 12, maybe 13 years old, and I got hosted by another lady who was obviously older. She was obviously in her teenagers or 20s, because she could afford her own domain, and she sub-hosted me, which meant I had a website called BABYBLUU, their domain, .dollsgarden.com, and that was my introduction into digital art. And with that I then found DeviantArt, and I still have my old DeviantArt account, and I think I'll do a video of me looking back on all the cringy old artwork that I have done back from when I was a teenager. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see that. And I basically then started connecting with the whole world of people who liked anime and art, and I just got absorbed into that whole world. And anime is a huge part of my life. It still is. I know I call it anime, okay guys, I call it anime, and I know it's anime, but I call it anime, okay? I've always called it anime and I can't help it when I say it. So just a little side note for you all. If you find it really annoying, I'm so sorry, but I can't help it. But anime wasn't really cool when I was a kid. Back in school, I I used to find it really embarrassing to say I was into it, because it was kind of like, I was like sat in my room like, what anime can I watch next? Naruto episode 352. Like literally, I was such a major geek about it. I watched so many. I've watched hundreds, if not thousands of titles, and I still watch them every week because I just freaking love it so bad. But yeah, back in school I couldn't connect with anyone about it, because everyone just thought, especially my close friends, I used to say, oh, I really like anime, and they used to be like, oh, what's that? And the go-to thing was like, oh, like Pokemon. Oh yeah, like Pokemon. But I watched the Japanese version. You watch the Japanese version, now it's just getting weird. Like, I'm a teenager who loves cartoons, basically. But they're not just cartoons, they're great stories. And I'm still into it. And the thing is with that, online I found my people. I found people I could connect with. And that's what brought me into being an illustrator. So I love DeviantArt and everything like that. So as my school life progressed on, I chose art qualifications. So I did an art GCSE. I then went to college and did art and design in college. And when I was in college, I was like, what do I do next? And at this point I discovered alcohol and clubbing and friends. Now, I always had friends, okay, but this is when I was like, I'm so cool, like, but I still went at home in my blanket and like watched anime behind closed doors, like, and I managed to get some of my close friends watching some of the titles, like Lovely Complex. My best friends watched that with me and they loved it, and I was so proud. I was like, thank you, embrace it, it is beautiful. You can thank me later that I've blessed you with this gift. Yeah, so in college I started stopping drawing as much. I didn't used to sit on my sketchbook and stuff like that. Like, I didn't used to sit down, open my sketchbook and just used to doodle, because it became more work. I also got a part-time job at a supermarket called Morrison's, and my life just got in the way. And slowly my art started taking a back seat. My anime and gaming didn't. I still was totally into that sort of stuff, and I still loved to browse like DeviantArt and things like that. I hope this is in focus. Imagine if I filmed all this and it wasn't. And then in college, obviously you have to decide what you want to do with your life next, and I was like, watch anime for a living? But seriously, I was like, oh, what can I seriously do that's available in my area? So I was like, graphic design, because obviously having a website before, I loved graphic design anyway. It kind of tied in with what I want. It wasn't the same as illustration, but I felt like it was a more viable option, and it was more of an option where jobs were more readily available than illustration, because a lot of people used to tell me it's really hard to become an illustrator. Children's book illustrators are like, you're totally not going to be that. You have to be like the best of the best, and although I do agree with that, I think just hard work, perseverance can get you there. So then I took graphic design as an alternative option, because they also did illustration as part of their subcategories. I went to university. I hated university. It's not that I hated it, I just felt like it wasn't me. And I specifically remember a tutor, when I first went for my interview, I opened my book and I showed her all the digital artwork that I'd done in my portfolio and stuff from college, and in my own personal work and stuff, and she literally said, you won't get anywhere drawing like that. Excuse me. But I think she failed to see how the culture and pop culture was changing, and how many people now love this sort of style, like the anime community and stuff like that. So I was like, but that really put me down. I was 18 years old and I was like, yeah, you're right, like obviously I have to get a corporate job in an office and I have to do all this because that I can't obviously have my dreams. Who can make a living off drawing like what they want to draw? Like obviously no one. And that really affected my progress and stuff in university. I wasn't into it. So my final year, my first year went amazing. I was full of motivation. My second and third year I kind of like drifted off and I just didn't enjoy it at all. I loved the friends that I made there and I loved partying a little too much, and my art completely took a backseat. And at this point in my third year I went through a breakup, which everyone thinks breakups are like the biggest deal when you're younger, and it totally wasn't a big deal. And I was like, I'm moving to Japan, I'm going to learn Japanese, because I'd already like absorbed a lot of the Japanese language. I started teaching myself Japanese and researching TEFL, which was a teacher's training course where you go over to Japan, you teach English. And I used to watch vloggers on YouTube about people who had actually went over there and did it, and I was so set on doing that. I just totally did not care about my degree, so I didn't even hand in my final major project. So next thing, I know I'm only getting a 2-2 on my degree, which now I regret so bad, guys. I wish I just really knuckled down, or I wish I had a year out to decide what I really wanted to do. If I went back to university now, it would be a total different ball game. Oh, how freaking annoying. It was over here, wasn't it? Sorry about that, guys. My SD card ran out of camera. No, it didn't run out of camera, it ran out of memory, so I had to switch it out. So yeah, what I was saying is, if I had the chance to go back to university now, it'd be totally different, because I'm very passionate about what I wanted to do, and I think it was just about recentering myself and seeing what I wanted to do. So for you guys who are at university, I know it seems really hard at the moment, but just take a deep breath, take it all in and focus, get your studies done. Don't do a me, okay? So yeah, university comes and goes, and then I'm left with my part-time job. I'm still working at a supermarket, worked there for 6 years at this point, and I'm like, now what? Now what do I do? I have no idea what to do. So then one of my very close friends got me a job. I was actually working at my friend's dad's company as a photographer now and then while I was a student, and I would upload it onto his website and things like that. And because I was free after university, he offered me a job. I actually got accepted. I went for a few job interviews in like customer service and retail, which is totally not what I wanted to do. My friend's dad's company, it's called Martin Windows. I still work for them now. He offered me a job when he found out I got a job through another company. So the company rang me up while I was at work full time and said, would you like this job? So then I asked Mark, who was my boss, is it okay? Am I taking this job? Because he hadn't offered me a contract, he was just kind of helping me out, and he offered me a full-time position in his firm, which was a huge help. And I was kind of doing their social media, receptionist work, admin work, kind of finding my place in the company, because it's a small family firm and it's a lovely company to work for. So then I worked full-time there. And during this time, I probably worked at Martin Windows about half a year, maybe a year, before I started thinking, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to be a receptionist. And I found myself looking at Instagram, looking at art again, and getting into the art scene again, and really finding my true passion, which is illustration. And I found loads of Instagram accounts, I started following them, I started researching about Etsy stores, and I kind of did my research into that. I took a little notepad to work with me, and during my breaks I used to do little doodles, and I used to think, what do I want to do for my own little business? Now, before this happened, a lot of my friends have businesses. So one of my very, very close friends and best friends, Rachel, she had a company called The Wise Hippie, and she sold vintage clothing. Now, I'm a huge fan of vintage clothing, and when I was a little slimmer, I used to shop in charity shops all the time and get really cute vintage items. So then I started talking to her, and she gave me advice on how to open a business and sell on ASOS Marketplace. So this was my first business, and I was so into it. I was like, oh, this could be a great way to make extra cash and stuff like this. This was before I worked full time. I need to just This was before I got the job at Martin Windows. And so then I started getting into the vintage clothing. Rachel helped me out so much, which is so funny because technically I was like a competitor, but she was absolutely amazing to me, and she like helped me out and stuff. And I had a model called Catherine, who's my best friend since school, and she modelled for me. She's absolutely stunning, but then she went to go do a teaching degree in York, so I was left without a model. And I'm quite a big lady, so I couldn't model myself. Now the good thing, Rachel is beautiful and could model her own clothes, so she used to be her own model and I couldn't because I couldn't fit into the vintage clothes. So I was like, okay, this isn't a very good business model. Although I enjoyed doing it, it wasn't sustainable for me because I didn't have a model to model for me, and it kind of wasn't my passion as well. I mean, I enjoy buying myself vintage clothes, but in terms of like doing it as a full-time gig, I was kind of not into it. So then I worked full-time at Martin Windows, and then that's when I started taking my sketchbook in, doodling, drawing, thinking really, right, what next business venture can I get? I've always been quite entrepreneurial minded, and I've always wanted to work for myself. So when I did graphic design at university, I'd always known that I'd wanted to be a freelance graphic designer in some way, shape or form, which is basically what I am now. So then I came up with my name, Katnipp, and I will go into another video about how to pick a business name and how I picked my business name in more detail, because that's a story in itself, and it could also be handy to you guys if you're thinking of opening an Etsy store or anything like that. So then I thought, and then I researched a lot about Etsy stores, and I got myself on there. I did a lot of research, I read a lot of Etsy seller lists back in the day. This was in 2015. And I opened Katnipp, and the first thing I used to sell was custom portraits. That's what I used to sell. And I got my first sale. I didn't have my equipment, I didn't have my printers, I didn't have anything. And with my first sale, I bought my first printer and invested a little of my own money into my first printer and equipment. And then with my second sale, I'd then buy this, and then so on and so forth. And I built it up from there. And I exclusively just sold custom portraits for the first probably half a year. I then started getting more into it. At this point, I'm still working full time, so Katnipp is a very slow growth. From now, I kind of like was still working on it, but it's hard to work on something while you're full time. So I was coming home on the night and I was working on Katnipp, and then I researched about mugs and stuff. So then I started reinvesting more into Katnipp and more into different types of products and research and stuff. And then I think it was Christmas of 2016, so a year later I would say, because I started Katnipp in October 2015, but then I went away to Turkey, and I didn't really fully start Katnipp, I would say, until early 2016. By Christmas 2016 I was bogged down with orders and I was working full time, and it was very, very stressful for me. I found it so hard to juggle the two. So because over the year I'd built up a reputation in the local area, and I was getting a lot of local customers and stuff like that. So then in the January I approached my boss and Mark, and I asked him to go part-time. I had a lot of encouragement of my fiance Dean. He helped me so much, I couldn't have done it without him. He said go for it. He's seen how much I was working and how many hours I was putting into it. So he said go for it, drop your hours to part-time, don't worry, you still have enough to cover the bills and everything like that, because obviously we have our own house. And then I took the plunge and went part-time, which meant I could then focus on Katnipp on Thursdays, Fridays and the weekend. So I worked at Martin Windows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I kind of focused Katnipp Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But obviously with the weekend, the problem with weekend working is it clashed with my social life, which meant like obviously I couldn't go out as much, or if I did go out as much, Katnipp would suffer. So as well, I didn't see huge growth in like as I was part-time. I still wasn't putting full-time hours into Katnipp during my part-time period. I went completely full-time on Katnipp. At this point it was like slowly growing, slowly building an audience. I maybe had about 1,000 followers, slowly building momentum, connecting with people and realising, surrounding myself with people online who had already made it and who were doing well and growing their following as well, encouraged me to keep going and keep growing. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos like Fran Nerd, who is a favourite illustrator of mine, and other people like that, listened to a lot of business podcasts, got myself educated on the situation, and then I took the plunge this year to go full time. But, huge but, the reason I took the plunge to go full time is because I had then switched from Martin Windows to doing their social media and doing their graphic design. I also did a bit of their YouTube and stuff like that, and I got offered another job up in Sunderland because my work had been seen and I'd been recommended as a social media manager / graphic designer. So at this point I'd also done a few logos for local businesses but just from hearing of me, word of mouth, recommendation and stuff like that. So that was the graphic design side, not the illustration side. So that helped me reinvest that money back into Katnipp. I don't like to spend the money I make on Katnipp, I like to reinvest it back into new products and stuff like that. Obviously I do give myself a little wage sometimes, but not all the time. And my social media management jobs, which I still work, which I still do now. So I still work for Martin Windows now, technically, but I approached my boss and I said, listen, I'm at the stage where I feel like I want to be full-time and self-employed, and he totally understood. He is a wonderful boss to work for, and he just said go for it. And he basically said, yeah, what will I get? And I gave him a list of, you'll get social media management, you'll get graphic design, blah 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 blah. He was very happy with how it worked because it was bringing him business in, and I'm still doing that now. So without that cushion, I wouldn't have took the plunge to go full time just relying on Katnipp and BABYBLUU, the business. I wouldn't have took that plunge. So it is nice to have that cushion. I now also work for my uncle's company, doing their social media management and Facebook page. So they are another freelance kind of section. So I have like different income streams, which makes it very, very good because if one falls through, I've still got the other to fall back on. And I would advise this for any freelancer out there, illustrator out there, have different income streams. Get yourself on things like xxxx, Redbubble, Spoonflower. If you're an illustrator, you can sell things and you don't even have to do anything. You can just like produce good work, put it on xxxx, they do all the work for you and you get a cut of it, and it's excellent. So I am looking into doing that now, so I have different income streams, which helps out a lot. Now let's talk more about my businesses. So Katnipp Illustration, as you may know, is an illustration business. So I sell things with cute illustrations on, custom portraits, which I'm slowly phasing out on my store because I don't have as much time for, and enamel pins and stuff like that. And back in 2016 I created a new art print which featured ultrasounds and things like that, which was targeted towards mums. Now this was tied up in Katnipp Illustrations, and I felt like the target market wasn't right. So this year, when I really focused on my business and honed in, pulled the purse strings and started becoming really, really serious about where I wanted my businesses to go and what direction I wanted them to go in, I felt like the ultrasound pieces weren't right for Katnipp. They just weren't right. They weren't right for my target audience. I wouldn't have personally liked to see them on my feed if I was following art accounts, and I felt like it needed its own home. So that is when BABYBLUU was born. Now BABYBLUU is obviously dedicated to expectant mums and dads, and it's got a totally different target market, and I approach the marketing different to how I approach the marketing for Katnipp. Katnipp is very much me and my personality, like hello, here I am, and BABYBLUU is a more commercial model style thing. Like it's targeted towards mums, and my marketing approach is very different to my marketing approach with Katnipp. I don't really have a marketing approach for Katnipp. I just kind of put myself out there and connect with you guys on what I love. So that is my marketing approach for Katnipp. It's just me. And Baby Blue is more of a business marketing, more professional kind of solution. I don't put myself in the post as much, and it is more about the style of Baby Blue, and my graphic design influence comes a lot heavier in Baby Blue than it does with Katnipp. Katnipp is purely illustration and Baby Blue is heavily graphic design. So yeah, that is how I started my businesses. That is how I got to where I am today. It'd be interesting to see where I am in another year and kind of do another YouTube video on where I am in a year's time. I wonder where I'm gonna be. But yeah, now I'm in this office and it's going amazing. I've been fully self-employed for 6 months, and now I feel like I can really focus on my goal and see where I want to take them, which is great. Little tips that I would give you if you're starting out is get a part-time job or a full-time job. If you're in a full-time job or a part-time job now, keep it up until you feel comfortable. If you're still living at home and you're fresh out of university, great, you've got a head start. It means you don't have to worry about money and bills because you obviously have the support of your family. But if you were like me and had your own house, then I would suggest obviously getting a part-time job to fund your living and your bills, and work on your projects part-time or your little business part-time or full-time after hours like I did. It isn't for everyone. Not everyone wants to be a businesswoman, not everyone wants to be a freelancer or whatever, but that is just my story. That's how I got. Someone's mowing the lawn outside, I'm so sorry. These windows are only single glazed in my office, so they're not very good. But yeah, my tips would be, if you need finances and bills and stuff, get yourself a little job to help fund it, and then takes the stress off a little if your shop has gone quiet or whatever. Let me know if there is anything else you would like to know in more detail, but that is how I got started and how I became a freelancer and how I kind of became self-employed. I feel like I'm missing out loads, but I've talked for so long I can't possibly talk any longer. Oh my god, I'm totally losing my train of thought. Oh, I love coffee. That's just me now. I don't know what else to say. My mind is blagging because I'm hungry and it's dinner time. So I'm gonna go get some soup that I made with roasted red pepper. Delicious. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, I love you. I love you. Okay, bye. Bye. Oh, oops, bye. Bye.